Yo guys, what is good? Assy once again with another Exos Heroes video, and today we're talking about Abyssal Gate and Abyssal Path Maze 4. So in this video we're going to show you a couple of different heroes that you can use, and in the end the compilations that I used. Those are not set in stone, it's just what I thought would be available to most players, and you have a lot of substitution options. So let's start with Abyssal Gate. Okay, so this is actually my team for Abyssal Path, because I did this after the fact. So here a little preview, and let's just get into the team building. Baraka is not immune against any damage, it's just that he has some of his henchmen in front of him, and thus you need some AoE damage to clear it out. So what I ended up with is an emphasized back row, and we picked this team. So reason for Dagas here is simply that he has a stun or a freeze on his S2, which disables the entire front row. That is the only reason that I brought him. He can be replaced by somebody else. Murti would be good here. If you don't know, Murti also has shock for the entire row. You might be able to do like a provoke kind of strategy, but probably your provoker dies immediately, so Tantaloo might actually go in here with damage to all targets. Might be good, but I prefer disabling them outright. And then the rest of the heroes are simply my strongest AoE damage dealers that are not super like pay to win. Benton, I recently pushed up a video, you should definitely watch that, top upper corner, and yeah, subscribe for more of these reviews. Benton, super happy I pushed him to 6-star, and I don't regret it. He deals a lot of damage, and due to his nature, like once you get the enemies down to a certain point, he becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, just because he can repeatedly do his AoE. Bernadette, I picked her because she's free for most players, so most of you have her. Otard, I have the FC, you don't need the FC at all. I just had it on her. If you don't have the FC, I will show the stats later on. Get to somewhere like that, maybe a little bit higher on the attack, and you will be at around the same. Just her multiplier is a little bit higher with the 357 instead of the 258. Same with Annie. If you don't have FC Annie with the 357, use regular Annie and you are good to go. Okay, so that is our Abyssal Gate team, and quickly before we get into the actual matches, Sabrina, she is immune against all physical damage and nature damage, so unfortunately we cannot bring this sweetheart with us, who's usually my go-to, and we have to think about something else. So here I actually didn't pick her, and pick this row. We picked Deva just because she is pretty solid and a lot of people have her. You can replace her by Sharpie, by anything that has a strong bursty kind of type ability. Anybody that would have a single target burst would obviously be better. There aren't actually that many in the magical category. I picked Scarlet because I think a lot of people have her, and some people might have pulled on her FC, then she gets the higher multipliers. Also pretty good. Other options would be Monica. She has the 420 piercing damage, which is kind of like 500% damage. Zareen, a little bit less piercing damage, but also less mana requirements, so she can do this more often. They would be good. I pick Pan as my mana battery, pretty good. You could pick Cernando if you pick FC Iris instead of Pan. That would be another good option. Ooze might be another hero that you could bring because he has the burst. Ned is pretty strong with his 500% ability. This guy with his 490 piercing damage can be strong, but again you need a better mana battery than Pan, because most likely you won't deal that many crits without Faded Gear. And yeah, that's pretty much it from the non-faded superstar heroes. Okay, let's get into both matches, and we will start with Abyssal Gate. So this actually goes super quickly. We quickly skip through the boss at 3x speed because it's nothing interesting. What you want to do here is try to optimize your critical damages that you deal. So leave some enemies that you know in the turn order don't attack you next. So for example here I would leave the guy on the right just to be able to deal some more crits and then kill him off in this rotation, just to try to get a little bit more mana. And then here, let's speed this down to 1 times. You can see I go full in with all my heroes, get pretty lucky crits here, get super insanely good crits here. This provides Otard with some more mana, but most importantly, this will bring everybody down, so now my Benton can just go in over and over again. Otard didn't get enough mana, so it wasn't enough crits for her to do her AoE again, but Benton cleans house. Pretty nice, and now it's just this guy, and we're done. So this is kind of my strategy. It was a pretty perfect run. You might get unlucky with crits and have to restart over once more, twice. And now we're at Abyssal Path. So this one just takes a little bit longer because of the hero choices I made. I didn't want to bring anything that is like super strong or repeat the same heroes over and over again. I want to give you guys options. This basically is just there to prove it can be done on a fairly low budget. You don't need FC Lepin here. I just had her because I have her for a long time, and some of you might even pull her, which is great. But even if you don't, regular Lepin, Karin, they would all be great. I just wanted to have a reviver there. This run is actually one of my weakest runs, and I wanted to basically show you the worst case scenario, and you should still be able to finish it. So here, let's slow this down to 2x for a second. My Deva died, but I brought her back. She now has a damage immunity from Lepin. Again, if you don't have her, like she might have probably died and you needed to revive again, Karin would be pretty good in that instance. If you have Iris, Iris could have been better for the shield than Pan, but again I didn't want to bring her because of repetition. All in all, here you can see my team slowly faltering down, but I'm still confident that we can clear it out with Deva because she has the shield, and we did. I don't actually know what happened in the last second there. It was definitely something really odd happening. I think there was some delayed damage. We're done with this, and let's get into the actual heroes and their stats. So you can see that there's actually nothing too special. Most of my legendaries are decently equipped, but they don't have my best gear, obviously, because I use my faded characters for my regular content. Okay, so Otard here has 2 faded pieces. The critical damage is a little bit higher here because she has the weapon, so it's 90. Almost 2000 attack. This is what you should aim for to deal similar amounts of damage. Then my weapon has not a single faded piece of equipment. Here you would want a little bit more speed, more block in order to get her passive going more often. Other than that, it's okay. My Deva, she has 1 faded piece which pushes up her critical hit a little bit higher. For her, because of her passive, there increases on critical damage by double. You want more crit on her just to basically guarantee the crit. Any more critical damage that you can pump into, obviously great. Attack speed, pretty decent. She will most likely go first in your rotation. This will come in handy if you have FC Annie to pair with her. My FC Annie, nothing special here, 1 faded piece. She actually doesn't have critical hit. You want optimally to give her the top row first to improve her critical hit, because then she can chain her S2 ability. I didn't have the gear, so she had to wait. Dagus, again, he is only used for his Cursed Trident. Anything with a stun would work. Try to get some of the defensive stats, the rest doesn't really matter. I actually would prefer probably Murti over him, just because she is faster than him. But that's kind of irrelevant, as you have seen. So he has actually pretty good gear. Not the best, but he has more faded pieces because they are just flying around. Benton, he is just a recent addition, and he doesn't have that much of good gear. He just has level 50 gear. I wanted him to be at least as good as Otard, but I didn't have the gear. So here you want also his critical hit to be higher, so prioritize the top row, and his attack optimally also should be at 2000-ish. Basically just randomly tossed in rare gear, no optimization even trying to be done. I just put pieces on her that kind of were floating around. So you can see this is her stats, nothing special, just to prove it's possible on a budget. And then we have Pan, same situation. You can just use whatever gear you have, and if you put a little bit more defense into him, he would survive longer. And if you're using him for any other content, this Dimensional Blast would also benefit from the bottom row being higher than that. And last, we have our free champion. She actually had to give up some of her gear to other heroes. I think Astarte probably has gotten this piece, just because I don't use Bernadette too often. But it's a perfect showcase with this gear, with these stats. As you can see, around 2000 attack seems to be the sweet point. Critical hit as much as you can get, and yeah, then you can deal a good amount of damage. Alright, that's already it. I hope it was not too long, and if you enjoy kind of this content, my usual content, consider subscribing, it helps me out a lot. I plan to do the Maze 5 in the next coming days. I don't know if I will release a video a day or kind of like this, where I put 2 videos together and then stagger them out a little bit more. It depends on my schedule, how I can actually record those videos. And then I will also continue on the path of trials. However, this will not be a budget friendly, only 4 stars guide, because it is hard content. It is supposed to be difficult. However, I want to create some guide regarding mechanics and actually continue this as far as I personally can go. With all that said, I really hope you enjoyed it, and it was a pleasure to have you here. As always, I will see you in the next one, and until then, enjoy the grind.